All right. Kathy Barnette, a conservative Senate candidate from the great state of Pennsylvania, just got leftist-style drive-by journalized by none other than Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity joining that leftist parade of besmirching people's character with shitty little hit pieces. Congrats.
Yeah, what the great late Trump Limbaugh used to call a moment of drive-by media shooting, and what Sean Hannity himself constantly calls the mob in the media, which he now has found himself rightly in that group, because this hit piece is an embarrassment. This is an embarrassment.
Yeah, and in case you guys haven't seen this, Sean Hannity did this quick hit piece on Kathy and shows this picture of her with it kind of like does this dramatic zooming in on the crowd that was there January 6th, attacking the Capitol. And does this like red circle around her. And then he's like, and she was next to the radical group Proud Boys. And then underneath it says, the mystery surrounding Kathy Barnette deepens.
Guilt by association here in the worst sort of way.
It says gets stranger and stranger. The mystery of Kathy Barnette gets stranger and stranger because she's in this group of peaceful protesters from what I can see, and she's apparently next to who they're claiming to be the Proud Boys, which for all we know, and I would like to find out if there is a way we can verify this as to whether she was even next to the Proud Boys or if he's stooping to another level of low and just taking the narrative from somebody and claiming, like just flat out lying about it. I have no idea whether that's important or not. I would just like to know how low Sean Hannity has gone.
Well, it's really poorly done. This is a massive event. I don't know what hundreds of thousands of Americans are there. The probabilities that you're going to be walking next to someone that you don't know and that could be good or bad or whatever the Proud Boys are. I mean, I don't know what they are, but it's incidental. And apparently, as you stated, Kathy Barnette says that she didn't even know them, and it would so the Proud Boys is a male only. That's evidently they claim it's not, but they claim it's racist and misogynist. So clearly, Kathy Barnette isn't walking with them because she is neither male nor is she white, or So just interesting that this guilt by association is so grotesque. And don't miss it, folks. It's really the fact that the left controls the media waves that this even can get sold in this manner. Because we know Obama met with known terrorists. He went to the church of crazy black supremacists, totally racist, like non-patriotic. I can't remember the guy's name, but that was his pastor. I mean, and we all know, like, these people...
Hold on, are we talking about Louis Farrakhan?
Not Louis Farrakhan. He didn't attend that church. But
that's right.
But his pastor was anti-American and just... Anyways, my point is that if guilt by association really matters and this picture is meant to mean something, then certainly if the media waves weren't controlled by the left, then Obama and basically almost everyone on the left would be also deemed as unfit for Congress or unfit for their job or what have you based on their associations. But we know that they control the media waves and therefore they can act like an aristocracy over the peasant class. So what's good for them is good for us.
And to try and be responsible about this morning, I personally don't know much about the Proud Boys. So when I saw this story, told Scalise about it, and we started doing some research to try and figure out who the Proud Boys were. And of course, like, what came up for the most part was these wild claims that they are a terrorist group, you name it, and claims that they had like many, it just had been involved in many crimes. Problem is we couldn't find the crimes.
Yeah, so
we couldn't find the crimes, and if they're a terrorist group, it's like perhaps they've actually been involved in killing somebody. Couldn't find a story about that either. You can find stories about BLM protesters doing that, though, and they aren't a terrorist group, but hey, we'll, roll on by that. But anyway, we're trying to research and find out why these guys were supposedly so horrible. And, outside of just a plethora of left-wing talking points, I think the most we found, Scalise, was their being present at the January 6th insurrection event.
Yeah, evidently that's their major crime. And this is why what Aaron just said about calling it wild accusations. And the reason why it's wild is because if you're designated a terrorist group, I think, I'm expecting to see some explosions or some mass casualties, like BLM, right? Where you burned down $2 billion worth of property, plus you killed, over the course of 2 years there, you killed probably 50 people or more, and I could go through the list. But I'm expecting something along those lines. And so when I'm searching for this, I can't find anything about them themselves. Only thing I can find are a bunch of lefty talking points. And the main thing that we found is just that, and this is from the University of Maryland's website, from their START initiative, Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, states that the Proud Boys are Western chauvinists. So apparently, and again, note there's a lot of this that we're going to get into that's really just them guilty of thought crime, which isn't a crime, but set that aside for a second. Western chauvinists who romanticize a traditional male-dominated version of Western culture, while the Proud Boys vehemently deny adhering to a racist ideology. The organization is deeply rooted in white nationalism and misogyny. As of December 31st, 2021, 83 Proud Boy members and sympathizers have allegedly carried out ideologically motivated crimes in the United States. This number includes 54 Proud Boy defendants who participated in the Capitol breach on January 6, 2021.
And they say Capitol breach. At least we didn't find it. It's possibly there. I have no clue. But I haven't seen evidence that they're ones that actually broke into the Capitol building. Or, am I missing something?
Yeah, and understand, folks, I have zero interest in defending any group just because they say they're on the right. But I have 100% interest in following truth and accuracy. Yeah. I have 100% interest in that. So whenever I search for this and I see words like, oh, they're guilty of the Capitol breach, does that mean they went in or were they just outside? And then further, we know from many videos now that they were invited in by the Capitol Police. So how can you breach something when you're invited in? And, further, so listen to this line. They have allegedly, okay, so that's once removed from actually doing it, supposedly, carried out ideologically motivated crimes, such as, I would love to know, right? So, and by the way, if you go, I've got 10 of them open on my screen here. All of them say something similar along this, that they commit or might commit ideologically motivated crimes, but they fail to list any except for this January 6th issue.
So there is apparently Proud Boy pleads guilty and agrees to cooperate with authorities. Let's see here. This is from the BBC. An admitted member of the far-right Proud Boys group has pleaded guilty to felony charges over his involvement in the January 6th Capitol Hill riot. Matthew Green, 34, has also agreed to cooperate with the government. He is believed to be the first member of the group to do so. Prosecutors say Green was in the first wave of rioters to cross police lines through Mr. Green's lawyer claims he did, though Mr. Green's lawyer claims he did not enter the Capitol building. So I don't know, man. Because I know there's quite a few. Are there still people being held in?
Of course, yeah. I don't think so.
Prison right now in the Capitol?
There are.
I thought I heard
there are
some 40 plus people.
Yeah, there's still a lot that are being held in the American Gestapo without due process and being treated abhorrently. So there's still a lot of them. Many of the January 6, 2021s were released on their own recognizance. Not all of them, but many of them were. But some people have been held without trial and without due process now for, what are we going on? Close to a year and a half? I mean, that's wild to think that can happen in America. But, I mean, it's designed to intimidate you and shut us down to keep us from peacefully protesting, because we know that the FBI will run a intelligence operation to entrap you, evidently, because that's what's really happened here. I mean, Revolver News broke this on Bannon's War Room probably 6 months ago now, but they've demonstrated that it was a FBI operation and not an FBI. See, when Ray testified before Congress, he said it was a operations failure. But what Revolver News demonstrated, that it was a FBI operation. It wasn't a failure. They accomplished what they intended, and the center of all that is that guy. I think his name's Ray Ellis, Ray Ellis. But so they pretty much demonstrated this. And again, this just goes back to the left controlling the media waves by and large. If they didn't control the media waves, they would have been undone already, because so much of this data and truth is out there. And so again, defending the Proud Boys, I don't know. We'll get into what they think in a second and talk why that it's not a great canary in the coal mine for the rest of us that may think similar, because what they actually advance isn't very far from mainstream America. For instance, the fact that the FBI and the Justice Department targeted moms that were protesting at the school board meetings, that's something akin, right?
Yeah,
where a mom is being criminalized for not wanting her kid groomed. I mean, like, that's where we're at, friends. That's where we're at.
Yeah. So so what, the worst crime, just found this, the worst crime that we know of is that one of the members of the Proud Boys crossed a police line.
That we know
is
of.
what they're saying.
Yes, allegedly.
Because there's no claims in the story of them attacking anybody, but they crossed a police line, and it's like BLM burned cities down, and we still have people, like representatives of that group, going on both right and left wing television shows.
Yeah, I mean, they killed 25 people in 2020. $2 billion in property damage, and killed 20. They murdered 25 people.
So again, I don't know enough about the Proud Boys to say one thing or another. I just know if you're looking at how other groups are covered versus them, I mean, these guys are being labeled some pretty crazy things with what seems to be pretty little evidence. If the worst that can be found is that they cross a police line and they're a terrorist group, or considered a terrorist group in both the U.S. and Canada, there better be something else here. Otherwise, that's a little too much. And if Sean Hannity's picking this stuff up too, man, you know what? We're not going to beat a dead horse. I'm done with Fox. We'll continue covering stories like this because it's important. I mean, they're presently trying to use this group to smear somebody who might be a really good candidate. I know Trump's against her too, though. And, I
don't understand that either. There's no reason why he should be against her. Everything, again, like we were talking about this before the show, unless they know something we don't know about her. But as you said, what did you say? And I thought it was good.
Well, they
then tell us
about the fact that they keep.
Then tell us if you know something we don't know. And Dr. Oz is really that great, because Dr. Oz is a hardcore anti-Christian, anti-God advocate, longtime advocate, and maybe he's changed, but I mean, he's like, that doesn't mean that you can't be on the right, I guess. But for me, it's really hard for me to believe that you can be a conservative candidate and be anti-God. That's just hard for me to believe. Now, again, maybe Dr. Oz has changed, but he was the one that debated Ken Ham back in late 2000s on the creation versus evolution debate, and was very pejorative and nasty in that debate. And I haven't forgotten that. So that's who Dr. Oz is to me. And whatever he is as a political candidate, and maybe he's repented, I don't know. I just thought it was very odd that Trump got behind him, and then now he's going against Kathy Barnette.
The narrative that Hannity and Trump and a lot of these guys, but I guess these guys on the supposed right and left have been trying to build this image of this mysterious past of hers, and I haven't really gotten much details on that. I know that she was born, that her mom was raped, and she's a product of rape. Oh, sorry, you thought I was going a different direction.
No, I thought, you're like, I know she was born. You're like, yeah.
I know she was born.
She's here.
Sorry. I paused like at the wrong time. Because his laughter, right, like when I clarified.
Yeah, I know, you're right. Oh, you're laughing about product of rape.
Oh, wow. Nice. Shoo, this has gotten really dark. But no, I know she, like her mother was raped. She was a product of rape. She's claimed that. I don't know if that would be a part of her history that they're talking about or trying to smear her with. I really hope not. I know she has a military career. She seems to have a pretty long track record of being pro-life. She never supported BLM, to our knowledge, which is a pro for me. That's really good.
Her campaign was asked specifically about it. She said, absolutely not.
So as far as like the darkness of her past, like I have no idea what they're alluding to. They haven't made that clear, other than the fact that they're trying to put something in the minds of the people that makes them scared of it. They're using the same tactics. They're using the same tactics the left does. They haven't shown anything clear, to my knowledge, that would suggest she is a bad candidate. And are simply, doing character assassination for whatever reason. I don't know how she
it's not
them.
even character assassination. That they do that really well. This is called poisoning the well. This is where you create specters to try to give people a bad taste if they drink from this well, right? Even though, we don't know if the well is actually good or bad, but we're going to tell you that the well's poisoned.
Yeah, I mean, she's new to me. Like, I didn't know anything about her till about a couple weeks ago, so I'm trying to catch up on that. I mean, I'm not going to be voting for her because I don't live in Pennsylvania. Right. But I don't see any reason to be doing this to her. Again, we might be missing something. But, I don't even want to say that. If they have something, actually right now, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that I'm missing something, because if they're so clear that she's a problem, then offer some evidence, some good evidence, and try to make it, try to bring it from somebody other than Hannity, because right now it's clear that he's willing to stoop to some levels that involve possibly lying about her, or at least trying to tie her to things that she isn't involved with. She's not a terrorist.
Well, he's so proud. He's so proud, typically, of his research team, where he says we have to have 5 independent sources that corroborate before we run with the story. And you look at this and you say, clearly not. Clearly, you're going to do the same drive-by media shooting tactics that Rush Limbaugh regularly bewailed, because there's no substance to this story. The only thing you have is there's a picture of her walking in a massive march at a peaceful protest before they got to the Capitol, mind you. So this doesn't even include the Capitol incidents. And all of a sudden, her mysterious dark past. Here's the specter. There's a zeitgeist here, but it's not the one that they're hoping. It's the zeitgeist of lefty ideology and poisoning the well. And Hannity is certainly guilty of it here.
It's just so disappointing, man, because we actually do need people in those positions to do better than this. Like, we need to mount a better fight against the left, and this is what the right is offering up right now in large part.
Well, this goes along with what we said our last episode, though, that they're controlled resistance. I mean, Fox is controlled resistance for sure. They're a captured entity. Even if they do have some outliers, such as Tucker Carlson, that's one of those. They allow it thereby to try to keep more people on the platform than they otherwise could. My thoughts.
Yeah, but like one of the other things, like let's not miss this. This ability to simply, you know, go out and destroy people, like attempt to destroy their lives, like destroy how people think about them. That this ease with which these people seem to do this, without any sincere thought of just the fact that you have a human there that you're just, you know, you're willy-nilly going about like creating stories. And Proud Boys too. I don't know enough about them to defend them, but I know enough right at this moment to suggest that they're not a terrorist group. And I think that's a pretty crappy thing. A crappy thing to just use those kinds of terms and plaster a whole group that way. You better have some really good evidence if you're going to come out and say those kinds of things. It's like if she was a supporter of BLM and was actively a part of BLM, guess what? I'd have a lot more evidence right now to suggest that's an accurate term. But being right next to the Proud Boys and saying that there's some kind of radical group with very little evidence of them being radicalized, very little evidence to support why our country has labeled them a terrorist group, and then using that as a way to kind of like connect her to that, man, this is just trashy. I'm so tired of them just destroying people like this and getting away with it.
Well, this is the I mean, we're wise to their schemes at this point, but this is the tragedy of them controlling the media waves, because they can construct whatever narratives they want, and they do make their own truth for themselves and their group of people so that they can accumulate more political power. Because that's what this is about. The villainization of the Proud Boys, by and large, again, not defending them, but I'm just looking, I'm reading some of these articles like ADL here. They're misogynistic, Islamophobic, transphobic, and anti-immigration. You know, now, if we were to, just like the moms that the FBI targeted at many of these peaceful, very respectful, very organized, and very orderly meetings with the school boards, which the parents are supposed to come and they're supposed to discuss their grievances. Just like that mom, they're not okay with their kids being sexified with trans, LGBT plus, what have you, groomer type ideology when they have younger children. And before about 5 years ago, 7 years ago, you know, we would have ran those people out of town, most of us, if they had said anything like along any of these lines to anyone younger than 18. And now we're just like, oh, this is now those moms are transphobic. So again, not defending the Proud Boys per se, but we understand this is about narrative generation. And we know that the Department of Homeland Security has come out and said that questioning the election is considered domestic terrorism. So I mean, we're getting to a point where the entire government is weaponized against basically, I would say, much of the populace of the United States that basically wants to try to follow truth.
Although, you know, if our government, parts of our government and the Canadian government have labeled the Proud Boys a terrorist group, you know, perhaps like in fidelity to our Constitution, we actually should defend them. And to that end, it's like innocent until proven guilty. If you're going to claim that about somebody, hell yeah, guess what? I will defend them. I will defend them and go on record right now. If that's what they are, then freaking prove it.
Well, sure. They don't have anything to prove, and that's why this is about them making their own truth. I mean, like generating their own narrative. They don't care about proving it. It's just the fact they control the. So this is the whole issue with, say, the court of law, right? It's not about what you know; it's about what you can prove. So this is one step further. This isn't about what you can prove. This is about your control on the modes of communication and what you can, by and large, have dominate the airwaves. That's what this is about.
Yeah.
At the beginning and end of the day, this is why we're getting excited about Twitter takeover potentially. We're getting excited about Trump launching Truth Social. We're getting excited about Rumble. Trump just said Truth Social is going to become a streaming media platform as well. So a lot of good things, but we need that. I mean, we'll never have freedom so long as one political group or entity can control 95% of the airwaves. You're just never going to have freedom in that context. And I keep going back to the moms because the moms are great, just obviously like relatively innocent, pretty easy to understand, mainstream populace, right? These moms make up a huge amount of the populace in the United States. And so this notion that you could criminalize them because they don't want their kids sexified or groomed. I mean, that's wild, right? So understand that these narrative that if they call the Proud Boys white supremacists, why? Because they believe in traditional American values, broadly speaking. Probably, I don't know that for certain, but I've been watching the left long enough to know that I look at that and I say, well, the traditional United States makeup is largely and predominantly white. It's a large percentage is white. And from that whiteness, that geographic, from that demographic, right? I'm not saying it's because of the whites. I'm saying this is just a demographic observation, right? You have this percentage of whites, this percentage of blacks, this percentage of Hispanics and everyone else, right? So you've got that there. And then you just say, and here's what was what grew out of that. What was cultivated in that are these traditional values, largely built on Judeo-Christian values. Okay, so that is white supremacy. I think at this point, it's just the fact that if you have any interest in sustaining traditional American values, it's not even about the demographics necessarily. It's probably about the values, because these people that want to sexify kids are an antithesis to what Judeo-Christian values says about children. We say you should protect children, you should not sexify children, and you should teach children to be responsible with sex, to enjoy sex, and to do it in the proper context at the appropriate ages, and to teach them that by the family, by those who are most intimate with the children, who know when the right time is. That's what we think. So, I mean, but they don't want that. They want our kids prepped for the pedos. And I say that unabashed. Like, these people are sick. They're sick.
No, a story just came out of Australia where a group of little kids, did you see that? Was reading books inside a library, and as a part of this event, I don't know if it was held by teachers. I need to relook at that story, but they brought in a guy in lingerie and had him sitting with, like, amongst the kids, like this male, like, dressed up in female lingerie, and just sitting with the kids, and there was protests against it, and they defended what they did, and it was just like, what's the point of that? In all seriousness, like, what is the point of that other than doing exactly what Scalise just claimed right there, as far as just like grooming and preparing them for pedophiles? Like, there's zero reason to have a reading event at a library and bring somebody in like that. It's heinous and it's disgusting. Like, it's really disgusting. And the fact that our government would actually use, what was it, the FBI, you said? To go against parents in our own country?
Yeah.
Like, would actually open up investigations and parents in our country that were against things that were exactly like that lead to things exactly like that. It's scary, man. We don't have
commonality with them, Aaron. I mean, and you've made this point often, and I'm the one that you've had to bring on board with it, but we do not have commonality with these people. There are no more shared values. If there ever was some quote unquote neutral ground, I like saying a common meeting space for discourse. There was ever an overlap of values where we could have that day has long passed, in my opinion, and I think the sexifying and grooming of children is the summary of that. I think you don't need to go through the whole litmus test. You could just say, if you're somebody that believes in defending or advancing the sexifying, sexual confusing, or grooming of children, and you believe that putting pornographic or sub-pornographic material in schools, or bringing in some sort of weird, I mean, there's all sorts of these stories where you've got these drag queens coming in with kids. I mean, if you're that, like, we don't, like, you are my enemy. Not in the sense that I need to destroy you, but in the sense that, your worldview, your ideology needs to be torn down, and mine needs to be advanced, and I don't need to consider yours. Yours doesn't need to be considered. If I see if that's who you are, whatever led to that conclusion that you thought that was a good and right thing to do, or if you're just that evil that you don't think it's good and right, you just like doing evil. Either way, your ideology needs to be torn down, and whatever it grew out of it's got to be grotesque, and I have no interest in trying to understand it.
I think they're the same that they've always been for hundreds of years in our country. To be quite honest, the left were predominantly behind slavery. The left were the ones who fought against the civil rights movement. The left were responsible for killing Martin Luther King, and the left right now is responsible for continuing a program whose charter was to control the black population. They were behind all of this through our history. The right has a proud history of fighting against every single one of those things. Slavery, advancing civil rights, and fighting for the life of the unborn. We have a proud history of that. The left doesn't. And that's well documented. It's just something their takeover of the media has allowed them to change the narrative of that one. And it's made their ability to continue pushing that stuff forward extremely powerful.
Well, it is extremely powerful.
But they've been the same.
It is extremely powerful, and coming back full circle to the need for alt media to continue to rise. The fact that we're even doing this is we're an outgrowth of this. Like we just have to seek and search for information ourselves, and hopefully we will have some big names on the right that'll provide us big platforms that we can all participate in that's going to beat this back. Because as it stands right now, I think the narrative's going against them, but it doesn't matter, right? Because they control the main lines of information, and they build these narratives to make the truth as they see it, Aaron, which is the point you just made.
Yeah.
You know, they want to make it so that if you believe in traditional values, you're a white supremacist. If you believe in traditional family value, you're a misogynist, right? And that may or may not include even the notion that you believe in the man as the head of the household. You might just say, I believe in the nuclear family. They might still say you're a misogynist. Because that's, chaining a woman to this unhappy duty of taking care of those that she made a vow to and to the children that she produced. My goodness, we wouldn't want her punished with kids, as Obama would say.
It's amazing how effective they've been at completely washing the history of their involvement with all of those like different just heinous and horrible parts of our history. They've done a really good job at it, and unfortunately the right really hasn't offered much of a fight against that.
Well, it says we're losing, because to quote a really famous axiom, victors write history. So the fact that they're able to reconstruct that says that they must be winning. True.
Yeah, that's and considering what they've been in support of in the past, it doesn't say too much good for what they intend for our future, because like I said, they haven't changed. Their belief in slavery and basically diminishing human life, both that of the minority population and babies and people generally speaking, they've had a long history of doing that. If that is the basis, the foundation for which they're moving into the future, and I have no reason to believe that that isn't the case, then this is going to get. This is disgusting. The whole grooming side of things. I just what they intend for this. I really hope we take seriously. And like you said, we do need to fight against them. And that does mean that what they believe needs to be in our society marginalized in large part, made ineffective in its ability to propagate itself in this society. And I know that sounds, any claims of fighting like from somebody on the right is just immediately thrown into this this violence. But no, I mean, it's not violence. It's a proper fight to argue for what is good and what is evil. And demeaning human life, like they have been for centuries now, is something I can easily say is evil. Prepping our kids this way in school, yes, is evil. It's not something we should continue to stand by and let them do, and we should stop involving ourselves in the systems that they are using to push this forward. It's pretty...
Agreed. And I think, and I've been wondering a little bit about the Jack Prolazek on Getter, and I think he's on Twitter too. He often says, "Get out of cities." And I think based on my meeting with some homeschool families and then our conversations you and I have had over time, Aaron, and then just looking at how do you take back the country, these small incremental steps, and then considering General Flynn's advice that local impact has a national output, those type of situations, I mean, maybe we need to start advancing a movement of just countercultural construction at the ground level where we opt out, we create our own little villages and groups, not convents, none of that weird stuff. Just your idea of getting together with like-minded people, largely around values, right? It doesn't have to do with skin color. We're not the left here. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what ethnicity you are. It's all about your values. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, it's about the character. That's what I'm interested in. And then you kind of create, and then if we're lucky, we have some big names out there giving us the social media platforms we need. But I mean, at the beginning and end of the day, it's really choosing to opt out of their system and stop providing for it. With obviously the one unhappy feature of still having to pay taxes for people that hate you and want to destroy you, funding them to destroy you, basically.
Yeah.
But I think that's a big move, and that is really the only solution. The idea that you're just gonna continue to use everything they use and listen to everything they say, on and on. I just think you're never gonna get out of that circle.
Like, to believe that you can be there, you can just go along with it and somehow remain. Not become that it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The future of your kids, if they remain in public schools, if we continue going this direction, is going to be just that. They will be used for some rather gross things. And
imagine what the output it's going to create at the family level when you fast forward. All these kids that start trying to have their own families, if they've been sexually confused, I mean, there's a lot that, suicides are up. There's plenty of witnesses, people that have undergone sex changes and then have reverted, how much pain it's caused them, how difficult it's been. And so we haven't, when you start saying, if we allow this to continue and it becomes pervasive in our children, then all of a sudden, my kids, even if I've opted out, if I let them meet in public places, whatever, dance team, whatever it is, wherever else you might come across other kids other than in your homeschool group. Well, now I got to worry about that constantly. Like, it's almost like I have to opt out of that as well. And then you're just looking at this and you go, but what's going to happen to America when those kids try to have families, when they're that messed up? They're mentally ill, basically, because of what we allowed happen to them when they were little kids with all this sexualization. And it won't be good. The whole stability of traditional family values. I mean, I think the left will have won at that point because they basically will have pulled the floor out.
Agreed. Well,
so today is the day, friends. If you want a happy spot, an action point, what's the therefore from this? The therefore is consider your kids to be a wonderful and great gift from God, something that He has placed in your stewardship, and your job is to ensure their innocence, their care, and to protect them from groomers and from pedophiles and for anyone else who wants to unduly sexify them, and to make the hard decisions to protect them. Does that mean you have to accept a lower quality of life? Perhaps. Does that mean you need to make some changes on your spending habits? Perhaps. Does that mean your career can no longer be your chief end in your life? Perhaps. But at the beginning and end of the day, the only thing that's going to matter are our most intimate relationships, and our relationships specifically with our children, because those are who are closest and nearest and dearest to us, and our spouses. at the big, however much money I make across the life, whether I leave my kids a big inheritance or not, all that when I'm dead, none of that, zero zilch matters. The only thing that matters is the invaluable time that you can never recuperate that you actually invested into those kids. And don't let it get away by outsourcing to these people. These people want to destroy your children, basically, in a really simple way of saying it.
And also understand that those on the left are, without any evidence, going to claim you're a part of a terrorist group, that you're a part of a group that intends extreme ill against their fellow man. And you're going to have to be willing to take that. You're going to have to be willing to undergo that kind of scrutiny. And unfortunately, we may have to undergo that kind of libel and false accusation from those who are supposedly on the right also. It's not going to be easy. They will go.
There's no way to evade it, friends. They make the truth as they see it. This is classic, what's called postmodernity. If you ever have studied epistemology or in philosophy, this is postmodernity. The left, because they control the news waves and the large media waves, they make the truth as they see it, and then they advance it. You don't have to be guilty of anything they say, but you will still be that, because you don't have a big enough microphone. You just don't. So until that gets fixed, the best we can do is keep your head down and start building apart from these people. Because thinking that, if I just do right by them, no, you're gonna have to become exactly as they are, and then maybe you would be all right.
Yeah, make yourselves more resilient. Limit your overhead. Get out of debt as much as you possibly can, and just try to position yourself with like-minded people. Yes, like-minded people. Do the somewhat. It's a good thing. Good companies are built on collections of people who have a similar vision for the future, or similar vision of something that they want to build. It's actually necessary to wedge yourself to like-minded people in order to get to get things done. Actually, get things done. If you just have conflicting ideas constantly amongst yourself, house divided against itself will not stand. It's not that you don't hear other ideas, but there does need to be a common vision. So don't let that, don't let that scare you from joining together with people that are like you, and building a future that you agree is a good future to pursue. Latch yourself to those people. Latch yourself to those who love their God, the true God, Jesus Christ, and build with them. Do what you can.
Aaron's right here, friends. I mean, you really got to. One of the best tricks the left has played on us is that false notion that there's neutral ground, or if you just keep your head down, you'll be left alone. And that they've divided us successfully, right? So getting together with people that are like-minded, religiously, spiritually, politically, and then building with them, that is how we advance forward. And I don't know what's going to come of traditional America in the political realm. I mean, obviously it's in utter disarray. But what I can do is I can create a home and a healthy and safe place for my children and for my friends and family if I can surround myself with those type of people.
So yeah, guys, thank you. Go out, build with each other, join with like-minded people, and let's build a better future. One little act, one little piece at a time. Thank you for joining us again today. Cheers.
Cheers, friends.